Good morning, everybody. What a nice, actually, it is warmer outside, and we're supposed to get snow on Sunday, so I'm actually really, really happy. It was a little bit warm, and it's not too freezing down here. I don't even have the little space heater on down here because I'm okay. But yeah, this morning I was looking at my Facebook, and one of my old friends in California, one of our roommates, well, they're dealing with I'm watching them deteriorate right now in the system. And it's really tough because I have visited them right after I was in Dr. Phil. I visited them and they know what I'm talking about. I've talked to them about the Jilly juice, but they're still stuck on utilizing the pills, powders, and supplements and the VA and all of that. So I really can't say anything to them anymore. I really can't. So what I do is I watch what goes on because I do care about them, even though I haven't really seen them in a while. But our life hasn't really been like congruent enough for us to like visit and hang out. So I did visit them when I was in California last year for a minute. I made sure I went out there, but it sucks that my husband and I couldn't go and hang out with them during the holidays when they invited us. But we have a dog, and so we have to deal with the dog. But one of them is dealing with a hematoma, and they're at the hospital right now waiting for a bed. And I'm like, a hematoma? I've heard of a hematoma, but I don't know what it is. So I Googled it and looked it up and saw it is a massive amount of clotting of the blood. Well, what would make a body or blood clot to where it creates a hematoma? Well, that's an infection. He had to go get surgery at one point, and that area of surgery, it's infected. And which means that when you have a major clotting of the blood, that's a lot of antibodies being created because of an infection. Okay, so you can have like a hematoma like right above your skin a little bit, and then you can actually treat it with ice. And I mean, there's ways you can treat it, or salt water, or whatever it is to break it up and disperse the antibodies, because that's what creates strokes. And this is what creates blood clots. This is what creates all the cardiovascular issues, is when somebody has infection all in their body and it finally gathers and flocculates. This is where, and this is for me and Ellen McGinty Barrows, because I was talking about strokes and why strokes are prevalent in people with a certain lifestyle as they age on their way to like 50, in their late 40s to 50s and 60s, and even before that, if they came into this world already mutated and full of antibodies. And so one of the words was flocculate. Well, what the salt does against the antibodies, and my juice does against the antibodies, it actually disperses the antibodies. So yes, the antibodies you do need on a certain level, but you don't need so much. Because remember, everything is about balance. You have too much of one thing, it causes an imbalance. Too little of another thing, it causes an imbalance. There has to strike a balance. And so I'm looking at how are they treating this hematoma. Now he's at UCSF right now. And it's interesting because UCSF was in that documentary that I saw on Netflix about the hospice patients. And I'm like, oh God, they're at that hospital. I mean, UCSF is a good hospital, I guess, for whatever it is. But I don't have any hope that this person is going to survive the treatments. Now, if they get a saline solution to break up that hematoma, not as bad. I'm not going to worry too much. They might go in surgically and drain it, like they do with people who have huge cysts in their body, which is all the white blood cells because of an infection, and they drain the cyst, but that's not really taking care of the root cause. That's just, doing a shortcut. No different than cutting out limbs and taking out teeth and doing implants. You're not getting to the root cause. You're just doing something for temporary, which is what the medical industry does. Everything they do is for a temporary basis, but they don't look at the long-term negative effects. Good morning, Jessica, of what they're doing. So, and I'm looking at how else are they going to treat this hematoma? Oh, they're going to probably give him NSAIDs. they're probably going to give him acetaminophen. So those of you that are popping Tylenol, popping Motrin, popping Excedrin, every single thing that you take for a headache, for whatever issue, do you know what that does? It actually blocks the prostaglandin hormone that aids in the healing process. Good morning, Jason. And you know I'm speaking to you, Jason, okay, my lovely sweetheart of a husband. I really am begging you in so many different ways to understand this information. Okay, I don't want to see you fall victim and watch that transpire in your world. I really don't. A lot of my transmissions are really with you in my head because I give a shit so much about you, Jason. Okay, so I hope this speaks to you. I know you'll do what you do, but I just want you to know that this is for you, okay, and for everybody else. Okay, so you know I have the utmost, I don't know, the utmost respect for you, and I want you to get this. Whether you do it or not, it may land in your world, it may not, it's okay. But NSAIDs and acetaminophen are no different than the anti-inflammatories in the holistic world, okay? When somebody takes garlic, when somebody takes ginger, when somebody takes honey, turmeric, anything that's used as a pain reliever, it all has the same properties. It blocks the prostaglandin hormone that aids in the healing process. So I actually have documentation on the mechanisms behind NSAIDs and acetaminophen, because with all these different names, people think that they're all something different. But what it comes down to is when you are trying to deal with pain, when you are trying to temporarily relieve a situation, what you're doing is you're stopping the mechanisms of the symptom that is trying to heal the body. Okay, so when somebody is in pain, there's a reason. There is a root cause. You have a pathogen or bacteria that needs to be neutralized, and you got to go through the pain because that's the prostaglandin hormone. But if you're in constant pain all the time, it's because you are lacking in nutrients and electrolytes to take care of it effectively, so that way you never be in pain again, so you don't have to keep taking pills, powders, and supplements, and detoxes, and whatever else. But you think that taking a pill or taking some anti-inflammatory or taking whatever is healing you. No, it's just stopping and shutting off one of your hormones that's going to help you in the long run. Because guess what happens to people who are, first of all, full of antibodies? Okay, and there's a lot of different names, but I just named a few. But the white blood cells, when you have too many white blood cells in your body, it's because of infection. When you have too many antibodies, it chips away at the weaknesses in your heart, the weaknesses in your every other system in your body. And then you have these mutations, and those mutations create more antibodies. They also create other white blood cells. And then this is where heart attacks come into play. This is where strokes now find an environment very friendly to that experience. This is why there are people that stroke out, or they have a half stroke. Their body, like part of their face droops, part of their body droops, because they didn't completely die from a stroke, but it was strong enough to impact 50% of their body, one half of their body. And so the other half is okay, but not really. But if you keep going down the same trajectory, guess what? That next stroke is going to take your ass out. And you won't know when it's going to happen. It's not like your body's going to tell you, okay, well, tomorrow at 5 o'clock when you're off of work and not driving the truck, or 2 o'clock tomorrow when you get home and the kids are at home and they're not in the car with you, we're going to have a stroke. Oh no, it happens in times that you are not expecting it. And you could take out other people while in the process. See, this is what people don't, they think they have some kind of control over how they leave this earth. But you know, if you don't allow your body to get in the proper nutrition to deal with the coagulation of white blood cells and antibodies, and if you don't give your body the proper nutrition to repair the mutations and allow it to work without you trying to control it, then guess what? It's going to then break down at the times that are not very convenient for you or anybody else in your world. Now, this is not something that I'm trying to be selfish about and say, oh my God, it's going to affect me. Believe me, it's no fun if you happen to have a heart attack or a stroke because of the fact that you are practicing the holistic allopathic ways of blocking the prostaglandin hormone. This is why pain is healing in my protocol. Pain is healing because there's a reason for it. And the industry, the holistic and the allopathic industry, do not understand the role of pain. You're like, well, what the hell? You're not a degreed person, Jillian. How the hell do you know? How do you know this, but they don't know this? Because first of all, that you guys are asking them to stop the pain. Immediately, you know how instant gratification our society is? It is about now, 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 now. I want it now. I want it now. If not, yesterday. Nobody wants to be proactive. Nobody wants to understand what it takes to have an amazing, pain-free body. So when you say, hey, doctor, I'm paying you with my insurance. I have this issue. I have this pain. What are you going to do for me yesterday? And so guess what? They can't sell you on, well, hey, you take this drink and then maybe in 2 years you won't be in pain. That ain't the business model of the holistic allopathic. They want to have that's what the double-blind studies are. They want to have an immediate result. As soon as you take something, the pain disappears. That's how they get paid. They don't get paid by telling you, well, we can't tell you when it's going to heal. We can't tell you the severity. We can't tell you even how long. That's not the business model of the holistic allopathic industry. So no, that's why they don't know this, because that's not their business model. Do you realize that? That's why the doctors and the degreed professionals don't know this shit, because that's not what they sell. They sell instant gratification stuff. And then you as a person have been trained in our society to only go after immediate results. You don't want to wait for shit. That's why credit and loans are so prevalent, because nobody wants to actually save up the cash and buy something with cash. No, they got to go on credit. They got to get a mortgage. They got to get all these things because you get the immediate results. Instead of saying, hey, let's bank the money or have enough of a down payment so that way it's not, but that's fine. It's the way people do things. Okay, fine. But that's the mentality in the medical industry, no different than the credit industry. So the credit industry, the finance credit industry, is no different than the holistic allopathic. You're financing your life. That's what you're doing when you're taking NSAIDs. You're doing holistic stuff, THC, cannabis. You are financing your life. And guess what? Pay now or pay later. Either way, you're going to pay. And the devil, okay, I'm going to use a religious context here. The devil will take his due when you do a shortcut, such as NSAIDs, acetaminophen, anti-inflammatories like ginger and turmeric and honey and all of that. Okay? That's what's going to happen. The devil will take his due because you're not properly adhering to the laws of your body to be able to then extend your life, prolong, and be pain-free. It's not even about living forever, okay? If you're like, oh, I don't want to live forever. Who wants to live forever? No, it's about actually relieving the pain to where you fix the issue so you never have to see it again. Why keep revisiting the same problem all the time or have that problem shape-shift into another problem? Why would you do that? People don't want to die. They don't want to be unhealthy. They want to fix that problem so they never have to see it again. When you keep revisiting the same problem or that problem becomes bigger and more massive and out of control, what's the point of that? Oh, it's because of the instant gratification practices in our society. And they make money. THC, cannabis, acetaminophen, NSAIDs. anti-inflammatories, all the MLMers, the chakra healers, the little whatever crystal thingies. They make money off your hormones, manipulating your hormones. The massage therapists, the Reiki therapists, every single therapy out there. Okay, now there's transitions, yes, and I get it. If someone needs to take an NSAID because they're doing the J juice and the pain is a lot and they just need to kind of chill the fuck out, okay, I get it. You can make a balance of the two. You can transition and utilize whatever therapy, whether it's Reiki or massage or an NSAID or THC or something else to help you transition so that way you can still heal as you are trying to control the pain so you can still do your job. There is that point of transition. But if you're just purely doing the therapies without doing J juice, you are paving the way for some kind of event that you will have no idea how to anticipate, and it will not come at an opportune time. It will be so inopportune, it's going to mess up your life. And then you were like, whoa, Jillian said this to me a while back, and why didn't I listen to her? Because of instant gratification. People think that they're invincible, that they're going to have the same body and the same mentality for a long time. But they don't realize every single day that they keep with the same mentality and they keep taking in the same type of practices of the different drugs and the different foods that aren't contributing to their health. Yeah, you're chipping away at the mutations that are already sustained from your life. You came into this world completely mutated, and you sustained and compounded those mutations with your lifestyle and your practices and your belief system. Okay? And so, yeah, you're not going to know when that event's going to happen. And as you get older, the events become closer. That's the reason why life insurance in the matrix, in the mortal world, gets way expensive as you get older, because they know that you're closer to death. So that ought to tell you something. When you're young, your life insurance is like $15 a month for like $2 million. Well, yeah, you're not going to die today or tomorrow, unless, of course, you have a high-risk practice like jumping off a cliff or base jumping. But, hey, but if they look at your medical records, they'll see, oh, yeah, she's 20 years old. She doesn't have any pre-existing conditions. They did a titer test. They see that, yeah, you have a few positives for specific diseases, a few antibodies, but it's not going to be enough to take you down. And they look at your lifestyle. Hey, she's not a drinker. She's not there. So, yeah, we're going to insure you for $15 a month for like $70 million because we are going to take that risk on. Oh, no, but when you're like 45 and 50 and 60 and you smoke and you have specific practices and you drink maybe once a month or twice a month or every day, oh, yeah, the life insurance becomes more expensive because guess what? You could kick at any point in time. And they're trying to figure out how much interest and how much they can invest that money that you're giving them to make double and triple the return on their investment of giving you this insurance and then you giving them the money. So that way, when you die, they're not going to be at a loss. The insurance companies make a shit ton of money off of people because they know how to reinvest that money that you're giving them, as well as them giving you something to fall back on in case something happens for your loved ones. Okay? I mean, I can't be any more clear about how the NSAIDs, the acetaminophen, anti-inflammatories, the THC, the CBD oil, the cannabis industry, Mary Jane, marijuana, all the different drugs do contribute to the degradation because you are inhibiting a very important hormone. And the medical industry and the holistic industry are very aware that it aids in the healing process. But you're asking to stop the pain. So it doesn't matter what this hormone's for. If they tell you, oh yeah, it aids in the healing process, you don't want to deal with the pain because you have been trained to always be in a happy state. Oh yeah, chase pleasure, chase the love, have continuous love to where you're so imbalanced and you're chasing these pleasure centers that it becomes an addiction. That's where things get out of hand, when you're chasing that pleasure center because of an addiction, because you were told that you cannot feel bad ever. You always have to feel good. And that's what these empaths out there that all about feeling good and feeling love are just as imbalanced as somebody that's in chronic pain, because you're utilizing something that's eliciting a hormone that's poisoning your body, or it's blocking a hormone. This is where the whole hormone replacement therapy in the allopathic holistic and the pills, powder supplements, the vitamins all play a part in hormone replacement therapy. They all do. Yeah, and some of them do play in the fermentation world, but not enough to make a difference. And that's why fermentation, as far as even the right lactofermentation, hasn't taken off the way Jilly Juice taken off, because nobody wants to deal with pain. As soon as they see that they start getting a headache or they start having stomach issues or gas, they stop it. And that's why nobody is getting healed 100% and no one's reversing the aging process or even entertaining the idea of regrowing limbs and organs, because as soon as the pain hits, they stop. They think something is wrong. When in actuality, that's the right thing to be experiencing when you're taking a certain kind of fermentation, the right type, lactofermentation using pink Himalayan salt with the right vegetable. So that's why the fermentation world hasn't seen this level of controversy, because they're no different than the allopathic holistic world. So let Luke Perry, he was one of my idols back when I was in high school. The 90210 and the Melrose Place. I loved watching those shows, yes, I admit, but I was like one of many, suburban teens. And he is like, and he was a little older in that show. He was probably, yeah, because he played like a kid that was rich and that wasn't in high school, but he was just like a friend of the family. I think one of the clients of Jim, who was the father of the kids that were in high school. But he just suffered a stroke. And he's not that old. But man, his face looks old. You see degradation. When someone is getting older, it's just, and you see it in their face, it's just a matter of time before something happens relative to their lifestyle and what they're bringing to the table. And the wind can blow and somebody can get a stroke because you don't know what kind of pathogens are coming through that you're breathing in that's going to create an antibody that's going to be the last straw that breaks the camel's back. You don't know. And with the 5G and the chemtrails and whatever other pathogens, the pollutants and the car exhaust and all of that, or your dryer sheets, and you're not going to live in a bubble, you know that. So you don't know what's going to then tip the scales and be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So this is why you got to do J-Juice. Even if it's just a little bit to get you used to it, you've got to repair the damage. You got to expel certain things that are causing more mutations. You've got to break up the antibody, the white blood cell counts in your body. You got to be able to balance your body so that way you don't have a hormonal imbalance that causes cancer, disease, and chronic illness, as well as too many antibody coagulation acquisition that will chip away at your vital organs, that will eventually shut your vital organs down. That's what happens when people die of natural causes. The body can't withstand the attacks of those natural killer cells that you have swimming around in your body. And I'm sorry, but this is a reality. People who have angry face, which I've seen, which is fine, this is a reality. It's a wake-up call. You either totally absorb this information and think about it, or you keep with your practices and then you keep rolling the dice no matter what. When you go out the door to whatever, you roll the dice. Why roll the dice? Why take those types of chances when you actually can control, for the most part, what goes on internally? And taking NSAIDs and anti-inflammatories are not going to help you in the long run. And actually, they could be detrimental even in the short run relative to what you bring to the table yet again. And so this person that's in the hospital right now trying to deal with a hematoma, I mean, yeah, they may drain that hematoma, but they're probably going to give him a bunch of NSAIDs and acetaminophen. They're probably going to give him a bunch of drugs, and they're already aging. They're both aging, and I really, I was trying to get them to even look at my information, but they won't. They won't. And it sucks, but then you can't do anything about it. And that's what, and I watch the people around me in my world. I watch some of my old high school friends, and I see them aging rapidly. And this is going to be the hardest part of being on Jilly Juice, is watching the people that you love and respect, even if you don't see them very often. You watch them rapidly age and then experience an event, and you told them a long time ago this was going to happen, that there was a way that they could have taken the other fork in the road, but they didn't want to listen because eating the good foods and the instant gratification and the being so programmed into the system was far better and more known than the Jilly Juice, which is like some unknown, but not really if you read my information and take the time. Okay, so that's going to be the hardest for all of you that are on J Juice, is watching the people around you deteriorate. And you can scream from the rooftops and tell them until they're blue in the face, or till you're blue in the face, and it still won't make a difference. I mean, look, hopefully, my husband, one day he will just drink it and deal with it and then stay on the diet relatively okay. But I can't guarantee it. I can only just hope. And if something happens, I will make sure I take care of him. I'll soak his ass in the juice. I'll put it in the tub, and I'll carry him. Yeah, right. I'll throw him in the tub and cover him with the juice. And hopefully the skin will just suck it up. And yeah, he'll be in pain. But at least he'll deal with the demons. And there's a lot of demons. People have a lot of demons from their past, and some they don't talk about. And it's going to be revisiting things that you probably didn't want to deal with way back when. So it was easier to take a drug. It was easier to anesthetize yourself with alcohol or something else. When you actually have to face who you are as a mother, who you are as a husband, who you are as a male or a female or both, if you have to face who you are as any role that you're playing right now, it's tough to look at who you are and who you've been, and then finally come to terms with that, and then create now a new person, because you're now finally willing to deal with the things that used to plague you, that you've been stuffing down, and finally the J Juice brings it to surface and forces you to deal with it. I had to deal with who I was a couple of years ago. It wasn't always pretty in the beginning when I first started J Juice, but I realized it is what I had to do to get to the other side, to get to the side of where now things happen and it's not detrimental to my psyche. I don't have, when something happens, that's like when life takes a left turn, I don't loop. I look at the problem, all the different sides, different ways, and figure out where it is I'm responsible. And then I execute with precision. And then I move on to the next thing. I don't ruminate over it. I don't obsess over it and be like, why? No, I just look, okay, where can I be 100% responsible in my reaction to this? And then where is it that I have no control over? So there's no point in, obsessing over it. That's where your clear mind is going to go when you finally get all of those antibodies and parasites and fungus out of your brain. Okay? But it's not going to help you if you keep taking all these damn drugs and you don't do J Juice. Okay. But yeah, I had to go through the hell to get to where I am today. But you know what? I'm so happy I did. But I was already going through hell anyways. Having my hormones be so freaking cattywampus and so fluctuating that, you know what, this was a welcome thing. At least I knew it was consistent. It wasn't like I feel great one day and feel bad the next day. I feel great one day and feel bad. No, it was a consistent where, okay, there were some days where it was like, okay, it felt relatively okay. And then I would see that there was like, the yeast infections, and then the constipation, the hemorrhoids, I had to up my juice. And then I had the headaches and I had the skin issues. I mean, it was one thing after another, but that was my body healing because it's bringing everything to surface. And finally that hormone was released to heal the mutations in my body. I released a hormone that I was suppressing for such a long time because of my practices. So that was a more of a welcome thing than me trying to suppress all these symptoms by taking all of those supplements that I was taking, and then dealing with the up and down, and then the whole feeling crazy every month. And then it would bleed out into my relationships. That was pure fucking hell. So the J Juice pain was far more inviting than dealing with all of my symptoms from all of my different mutations. But some of you haven't reached that yet. Some of you are not, your back isn't against the wall. It will take an event for some of you, because your life is great now. You are working, you're like nothing. You don't get sick. You don't have fluctuations. You're just aging, which means with aging comes a lot of other issues, a whole host of other issues, because now you're just rolling the dice. You don't know when something's going to happen because of the fact that you don't have any major issues, but it's that event is going to then remind you that you're not invincible if you're not regenerating and fixing the mutations from the aging process because of the antibodies that you have sustained. So everybody has their journey. I'm trying to help you guys to figure out if it's worth it for you to proactively fix the mutations now, bring forth the pain now when life isn't that crazy, or when you find the time. So that way you can just deal with the healing the next year or two. And then you have however long to accomplish all of your goals and dreams. But you got to deal with the issues as soon as possible. You know, when you keep ignoring the pink elephant in the room, eventually it's going to shit on you. That elephant is going to shit on you, okay? So you got to deal with the pink elephant. If not, it's going to turn around and bite you in the ass or poop on you. So you might as well face the music. It can't be that bad. Can't be as bad as dealing with the repercussions of ignoring the problem. I know. What a great analogy of a pink elephant shitting on you. But that's what people do. They ignore problems. They ignore, you know, they ignore their finances. They ignore their problems. They ignore the issues. They don't address the issues in the room. They don't. And that's why things become bigger than what they should. That's why people have these huge issues. I mean, that's what happened to me with my first publisher. I ignored the red flags and I kept wanting to see her in a different light, and I didn't see her for what she exactly was, and it turned into a big issue. And so when you finally deal with the issues at hand, you won't have to go through legal processes. You won't have to utilize the legal system. You won't have to always be in some kind of legal battle or some kind of power of the wills. No, because you will face whatever issue today so you can nip it in the bud so that way it doesn't become a problem tomorrow. This whole proactivity is going to bleed over into every single aspect of your life. So that way you don't have to see that issue ever again. And if it does come around again, you'll deal with it in the way that you know how. That's within your power legally. Because you know life is going to happen. You guys are all in different positions in life. You know people are going to be stupid out there. They're going to treat you in a certain way. And then you will have to know your rights. You have to know the laws. Because if you don't know the laws, you'll believe all the stories. And then sometimes if you don't know the laws, you will not take action when you need to. So this is why it's paramount that you understand the laws of your body as much as knowing the laws out there when you deal with people in your world, whether it's your landlord, whether it's your publisher, whether it's your husband or wife, whether it's your employer. Okay? So you got to understand the laws, and if you keep violating the laws in your body, yeah, it's going to translate into every single aspect of your world, because that's your MO. You rather believe all the stories and make these assumptions and then work from them as if they were real when they're not. It was a wrong assumption because you don't know the laws. So, yeah. And I hope my two friends, I mean, they may see this. I'm not going to even give this to them because I don't want them to feel like I'm picking on them. But it sucks to watch. It really does. But there's really not much you can do about other people's decisions. You can only take their experience and talk about it from the Jilly Juice perspective in hopes to then save somebody else from going through that, to where then it may have a very, very negative outcome, that maybe they can switch gears because this baby spoke to them. I can't speak to all the diseases in the world. I really can't. I mean, I can try, but I mean, not all the disease out there in the world I really want to, but if something does strike my interest and I do a little bit of research and I look at how it's going to fit in the bigger picture of Jilly Juice and the different practices out there, like using Nsaids and Acetaminophen, then yeah, I'll talk about it. But it won't go into each specific disease because that would be just, no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, but we know people use NSAIDs and acetaminophen and anti-inflammatories in the holistic world, and it's to your detriment if you keep with those practices. And that's why the cannabis is so dangerous. And I have no problem saying it, even on Facebook, on some of these public websites. That explains the pink shit I see all over the people. That explains the pink shit I see all over people. You can wipe it off, but they'll just go back and get shit on again. Right, Crystal. But yeah, I mean, you'll, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if, yeah, you keep practicing all of those different cannabis and things, and you see it all over the internet, I have no problem going on and speaking and giving people the information without trying to trigger them. So to the point, to the great, straight to the point, great informative video. Hope it clicks with people better before the elephant shits, so to speak. Yeah, well, you know, that's what people are waiting for. Is once the elephant shits on you, that's when they'll do something, and it might be too late at that time. It might be too late, and you can't tell what's going to happen. There's no way to anticipate, and that's what sucks. And so why be surprised? When people are shocked and surprised and they're going, wow, like I see wow all the time. That's lack of awareness. When you're surprised, you have lack of awareness. Okay? Now is the time for us to know how to predict what's going to happen, because we live in a universal world with universal stimulus that we know how people and things are going to react based upon the same elements. We're all in the same universe with the same elements that have specific outcomes based upon stimulus. There really isn't anything surprising out there. It's only surprising because you're not aware of your surroundings or the laws. That's why people get shocked, because they're not listening. They're just reacting. When you're reacting from your hormones, living by your hormones, you're going to have zero awareness on anything that goes on because you're always in reactive mode. And this is the problem with the allopathic holistic. We have patients who have zero awareness of themselves, as well as their body, as well as their family's bodies. And that's why they are dying of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, trying to get NSAIDs and surgeries, and acetaminophen and anti-inflammatories, and trying to get, you know, the marijuana license because of their lack of awareness. And that's unfortunate. When you understand your biochemistry, you can play with chemistry in your own house, because you know what they do and you know how to counter. You know, I mean, once you understand chemistry, biochemistry, and chemistry out there, dude, sky's the limit. You can do whatever the hell you want. You're not going to be a victim of circumstances. You're actually going to control your own destiny. And that is huge. That is priceless. Nobody could have put a price on that kind of control. Nobody can. But people do, and they try, and then guess what happens? They pay so much and they die anyways. So what's the point? All right, so you guys have a great day. I'm going to do my thing. But yeah, thanks for listening. That was a good speech, I think. And I appreciate you guys' attention. And hopefully we've reached a few people, even if it's just one or two people. Hopefully we reach them. Okay, thank you, thank you. I'll talk to you. Go to jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. Get the book. Kevin and I are working on the second book, and he gave me a few pointers today through email. So he read my manuscript on the second book, and yeah, you guys are going to be very impressed by what he has to say, as well as me. You already know what I'm going to say, but you guys will be very, very impressed with him. All right, I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.